In this scenario, you are making a profit because you're making $1,000 off 400 inventory. What's up, icons? It's the iconic fashion figure back with a new video. One of the first questions I typically get from some of you guys that are starting out your business is how much money you should start with, or how many pieces should you buy to get started. But I think we should kind of reword that question and ask how to delegate the budget that you are working with to start up your new business. So let's take a budget today and break it down on how you should delegate your budget for your startup business. The first thing you'll want to do when trying to delegate your budget, make a list of all the expenses you'll think you'll have before you actually start to break down your budget. So you want to think about the registration of your business, getting your licensing, the cost for all of that. But don't actually put down the cost yet. We're just creating the list for right now. You'll want to think about the branding, so the logos, if you're doing branded packaging for your shipping, business cards, all of that stuff. Of course, you'll want to think about inventory. I know that's usually the number one thing people are looking at. What it's going to cost you for a website, for supplies. And then, of course, there's a bunch of other things like advertising, marketing, phones, all of that stuff. But make a list of everything you think you'll need to start your business. And then once that list is done, you'll want to find what's a necessity. So just write a star next to what you think is necessary for you to have. Like, you absolutely have to have this in order to get started. You will not launch your business unless you have these items. Also look at what you think you can do without for the time being. Maybe the first few months you don't need it until you start making money, and then it's something you can add on later. And then, sorry, I'm getting ready to expose myself. And then also look at what you can do yourself. So maybe you can create your own logo. Maybe you can design your own business cards. You just need to have them printed somewhere. Look at what you can also do yourself to eliminate cost. So what I'm going to do in this video, I'm just going to start with a budget of $1,000, just to throw a number out there. $1,000 seems reasonable, and it's a well-rounded number to break down just for video's sake. So we know when you're getting ready to start your business, registering your business is a must, especially if you're planning to buy wholesale, of course. So you want to register your business. Now, we all live in different states. Some of you guys are in different countries, so registering your business is going to be a different cost for everyone. But for video's sake, I'm just going to average it at $200. Some states cost a whole lot more than that. Some states cost less. It also depends on the type of entity you decide to register for your business. So everyone's cost is going to be different, but I'm going to just say $200 for average. Now for the logo, are you going to pay someone to do your logo? Are you going to design it yourself? Business cards, are you going to create those yourself? Are you going to have someone do it yourself? Or maybe it's something you're going to hold off with for now and do business cards later because you may feel like you don't need them right now. So for the whole branding section, I'm just going to say $100. Again, this number can be all over the place. Some people may do branded packaging. Some people may do really custom logos. Some pay to get a slogan. The whole branding section is really what you want. Let's say for like beauty, you may be doing your own packaging for all your cosmetics. That's technically considered branding. So your cost can be a whole lot more than someone with clothing that may just buy hang tags for their product. So I'm just going to say $100 to throw out a number there. So out of our $1,000 budget, we're now already at $300. And next, let's look at a website. Now, you guys know I did the video on how to start your business without a website if you really wanted to go that route and you're on a tight budget and a website was something you had to cut out. But there are cheaper options too for a website if you really want to be online, especially if you're doing an online boutique. You'll want that online presence. There's also some website plans where you can pay monthly instead of you paying for the full year. Now, of course, if you do the annual rate, it's cheaper than if you do monthly. But again, if you're on a tight budget, you can do monthly. So I'm going to say for a website, we'll just do, again, $100 because it's a rounded number and everyone's scenario is going to be different. But let's say we're going with the monthly rate and we're going to cover the first few months. So $100. So now we're at $400 already out of our $1,000. And then then for supplies, which is typically like shipping supplies and things, you can go with the USPS priority boxes where you don't have to worry about paying for boxes, and all you need is like tape. You have to figure out labels. How are you printing labels? Are you going to the post office every day and printing it on their machine? Are you going to print it from your printer that you may already have at home and you just need to buy ink? Are you getting a thermal printer? Those are things you want to figure out. For video's sake, I'm using a rounded number and we're going to say $100. So we've already used half of our budget. So now let's go into inventory. Inventory, I'm going to explain in a moment, but I'm just going to throw out there, I'm going to do $400 in inventory. Depending on your category, $400 can go a long way. $400 can almost get you nothing. For someone that may like be in the beauty industry or, you know, doing lashes, you can buy a lot with $400 as far as lashes. Someone doing clothing, you may only get about 3 styles. Someone that's doing shoes, you might only get like 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. Of course, shoes come in packs of 12, but you only have 2 styles. If it's fall season and you're buying boots, you probably will only have 1. Again, this category can go a long way depending on what industry you're in. We're gonna say we're in clothing, so the only thing we're getting is 3 different styles right now. So the only thing we have left of our budget is $100. Now, typically I would say on a $1,000 budget, let's use that second half of our budget, so the full $500 just on inventory. But being that you're new in business and you're not actually sure all the expenses that may come up, you'll want to save that last $100 for anything miscellaneous that may pop up. There's always something unexpected that may come up, so you want to have money in the bank to be able to cover that, because you don't want this one random thing to stop you from starting up your business. And then just as a business tip in general, you always want to have money in the bank because you always want to keep a positive cash flow. You don't want to get to a point where you have no money and you have these expenses you need to pay for. So we're gonna throw that last $100 in the miscellaneous category. But once we get to the point of launching and we realize like there's no more expenses, you can go ahead and use that $100 for inventory. And then that way half your budget is used on inventory, given that nothing else pops up. The other good thing about doing it that way is when you're starting your business, you may only be introducing 3 styles in the beginning, but then you can throw in this new arrival, which will be your 4th style. And it's always good to refresh it to keep people coming back. So now you're adding something new and then they realize there's always going to be new stuff. Now when it comes to inventory, a lot of people question like what is the right number to start out with as far as the number of styles. And you always want to know how many pieces should you start out with. The real question, if you ask me, is how many pieces do you think you can sell? One thing that I learned when it comes to sales, something that I was taught from the very beginning, if you can't sell out the trunk of your car, good luck selling in the big leagues. If you can't sell 20 dresses, what makes you think you can sell 200? If you truly are unsure of how many pieces you should start with, I recommend starting small. That is the best thing that you can do so you don't invest too much and then take a huge loss. If you're really unsure of what you're capable of selling, start with a few pieces and then you can just add on later, because there's really no true answer to that question, is what you're able to do. So now we've broken down our budget and we kind of get an idea of how to delegate it, even though as you guys can see with every category I said, it really depends on your business, because again there's really no true answers to it. You have to look at your own situation. But one of the things I can recommend is, if you can, get yourself set up for net terms. So like with the supplies you're buying, like your office supplies, your inks and things like that, you can get set up a net term, so that way you can at least buy it now and it'll give you either 2 weeks or a month before you have to pay it back to that vendor. So there's a bunch of net term vendors that will accept new businesses, which I'll discuss in a later video, but you'll want to get set up with things like that to help your cash flow. Again, you always want to have a positive cash flow for your business, because otherwise it's hard to stay in business if you don't. The other thing you can set up net terms with is for like your shipping. So when you're shipping out, now of course if you're using USPS, you most likely wouldn't get net terms there, but other carriers typically will. So if you can, get signed up for that, because that buys you time on having to pay for those things. And then the other thing you'll want to do, once you've broken down your budget, so we just did that $1,000 budget and we delegated how much we're going to spend in each category, you'll also want to project how much revenue you can potentially make off of the inventory you just purchased. Because again, this has to do with your cash flow. You want to make sure within like a month or two, you can still flow your cash, you can still buy new styles, you're not in the negative. You don't want to hit the reds. So before you actually go in and buy these things, you'll want to make sure you have that positive cash flow. So you guys know we started out with a $1,000 budget, but only delegated $400 for inventory. So let's say we decided to use like a 60% margin on the products that we have. So 60% margin on $400 in inventory. Here's a little math lesson for you guys. That'll give you $1,000. So you literally just made your budget back off of that $400 that you just spent on your inventory. That's kind of how you want to look at it when doing your inventory. You want to make sure the money you spent on your inventory is at least going to make you your money back or more. Obviously, you want a profit. Well, in this scenario, you are making a profit because you're making $1,000 off $400 in inventory, but you're also making your money back that you spent on all the other categories. So that's more like a break-even scenario. Now, if you have a customer base where you can sell higher than a 60% margin, of course, go for that because you want to make a profit. You don't want to just break even. But this is a general idea to help you guys understand how to break down your budget when you're starting up. And then for the last question of this video, we just said that we'll make $1,000 off a $400 inventory budget if we do a 60% margin, but how long would it take you to make that back? And I'm not going to answer that question in this video. We'll talk about it next time. Thank you for watching.